I'm not sitting next to some ghetto trash who obviously stole that ticket. Patricia Henderson's voice slices through the cabin like a rusty knife, loud enough for every first-class passenger to hear. She plants herself firmly in front of seat 1A, blocking the aisle as if she's guarding a national treasure. And the target of her rage, Diana Washington, stands there with a calmness that almost looks supernatural. "Ma'am, this is my assigned seat," Diana says, her tone soft but steady. No attitude, no drama, just quiet dignity. But Patricia's eyes narrow like she's scanning a counterfeit bill. "Don't lie to me," she snaps. "People like you don't fly first class. I've worked around airlines for 20 years. I can smell a scam from a mile away." A few passengers shift uncomfortably. A man lowers his newspaper. Someone taps their phone camera on. Patricia raises her voice even higher, practically performing now. "You probably printed that ticket at home. Someone call security before she robs us all." She has no idea, none, that she is throwing insults at the woman who built the very airline she is standing in. The woman whose initials are engraved on the aircraft's blueprints. The woman who personally designed the exact seat Patricia is clinging to like a life raft. But 3 hours earlier? Everything was calm. Sunlight glinted off the polished pavement at Seattle-Tacoma Airport as a sleek black sedan rolled to a stop. Out stepped Diana, impeccable navy suit, leather briefcase with gold DW monogram, and the kind of confidence that only comes from building an empire, brick by brick. 12 years ago, she'd stood at that same curb with nothing but a dream scribbled in a notebook and a borrowed laptop. Back then, folks laughed. A young black woman starting an airline? Yeah, right. Now, Skyward Airlines flies to 43 cities and is moments away from a historic merger that'll triple its network overnight. Inside the terminal, staff greeted her with subtle respect. Head nods, warm smiles, the quiet kind of admiration that doesn't need applause. That's the culture she built. She even paused to help an elderly traveler lost between terminals and checked in on a janitor's daughter who'd just earned a full engineering scholarship. That's who Diana is. And yet here she stands, treated like a criminal by a woman who has no clue she is talking to the boss of bosses. But Patricia wasn't done embarrassing herself, and she hadn't even stepped inside the plane yet. The real storm was still waiting on the jet bridge. Diana joins the boarding line like any other traveler. No special treatment, no VIP shortcuts. She always flies incognito when she's doing a service evaluation. She wants the real passenger experience, not the polished version they roll out for executives. As the line moves, Diana watches her gate agents interact with customers. Warm smiles, efficient scanning, clean jet bridge. All the tiny things that separate a forgettable airline from a great one. Then comes the clicking, fast, sharp, impatient. Patricia Henderson is approaching like a storm in designer heels. "Excuse me, I need to board immediately," Patricia barks. She shoves her first-class ticket toward the gate agent with the kind of dramatic flair usually reserved for courtroom movies. "I'm a Platinum Elite, with 3 airlines. I can get your supervisor fired with 1 call." The gate agent remains cool as iced tea. "Ma'am, first class will begin boarding momentarily." Patricia huffs so loudly the people in Group 5 hear it. When first class is called, she rushes forward like someone fired a starting pistol. "Finally, some airlines still know how to treat important customers," she mutters, loud enough for everyone to hear. Diana steps up next, her boarding pass scanning with a cheerful beep. And that's when Patricia's head swivels like an owl. "Are you sure you're not supposed to wait for Group 3? Patricia asks with a sugary smile that fools no one. "Economy boarding hasn't started yet." "I have a first-class seat," Diana replies evenly. Patricia gives her a slow, judgmental once-over, the kind older folks might call a bless-your-heart stare, but without any blessing. "Well, I suppose anything's possible these days," she says, the words dripping with suspicion. On the jet bridge, Patricia deliberately slows down, blocking the walkway, sighing loudly, and muttering digs about declining standards and people who done to belong up front. Each comment aimed like tiny darts at Diana. As they enter the cabin, flight attendant James greets them warmly. The signature lavender scent Diana chose fills the air. Patricia sweeps into first class with over-the-top dramatics, plopping down in seat 1A like she bought the plane herself. When Diana steps forward toward her rightful seat, Patricia explodes, "Oh, I don't think so!" she shouts, leaping up and slamming her hand on the seat. "This is my seat, and I'm not letting some liar or welfare queen steal it." Gasps ripple through the cabin. Phones raise, and Diana simply exhales, steady, calm, unshaken. Because Patricia was seconds away from making the worst mistake of her entire life. The kind you can undo, delete, or apologize your way out of. For a moment, the entire first-class cabin hangs in stunned silence. Patricia stands there gripping seat 1A like someone trying to pry a winning lottery ticket out of her hands. Her face is flushed, her breath sharp, and her voice, oh, it's rising fast. "This boarding pass is fake," Patricia declares, waving Diana's ticket around like she's exposing a crime scene. "Look at this, cheap printing, wrong font, suspicious seat number. I know a fraudulent pass when I see one." Flight attendant James approaches with caution, the kind a waiter uses when stepping between two arguing customers. "Ma'am, I can verify this passenger's ticket is valid," he says gently. Patricia snaps toward him. "Verify? Honey, I work in aviation. I've been around planes for 20 years. I know scammers when I see them. This woman does not belong in first class." Her voice climbs another notch, now the whole cabin can hear. "You all need to see this fraud in action," she shouts, gesturing toward Diana like she's pointing out a pickpocket at a subway station. Phones lift. A few passengers set their drinks down. One woman whispers, "Lord have mercy." Diana stays absolutely still, her leather briefcase steady in her hand. Her expression? Calm, controlled, almost too composed for someone being humiliated in public. "Ma'am, this is my assigned seat," she repeats quietly. Patricia scoffs so loudly it echoes. "Oh, that's cute. You even practiced your little script." She leans closer, lowering her voice but not her hatred. "You think tossing on a business suit makes you first-class material?" "Sweetheart, please." James tries again. "Miss, she has a valid—" Patricia cuts him off with a hand in his face. "No, I want the captain. Call him, right now." Her eyes dart around, looking for more attention to fuel her performance. A few heads turn, glancing between Diana and Patricia like they're watching a live courtroom drama. Then Patricia escalates. She pulls out her phone, opens a livestream app. "Oh, you better believe I'm recording this," she announces. "My followers need to see this fraud trying to steal a first-class seat." The red recording dot lights up, and Patricia goes off like a firework. This woman printed a fake boarding pass. She's trying to steal from hard-working Americans. And this airline is letting it happen. She pans the camera toward Diana. "This is what happens when you stop checking who belongs where." A heavy, icy silence falls across the cabin. Diana closes her eyes for a split second, because what Patricia didn't know, what would destroy her world, was that she wasn't live-streaming a scammer. She was live-streaming her own downfall. Patricia's voice barrels through first class like a siren. "Someone get security! This whole airline's a joke!" Her phone is inches from Diana's face now, broadcasting every insult in 1080p HD to hundreds of strangers online. Flight attendant Maria, a seasoned pro with the patience of a saint, steps forward. "Ma'am, you need to stop recording other passengers." Patricia throws her arm out dramatically. "I have every right to document fraud, and you," she points at Diana, "need to sit your behind in economy where you belong." The entire cabin inhales sharply. Maria stiffens. Even James winces. Diana stands tall, though anyone paying close attention would notice her knuckles tightening around her briefcase handle. "Ma'am," Maria says, voice firming, "your language is unacceptable." "Unacceptable?" Patricia scoffs. "What's unacceptable is letting people like her try to sneak into first class." A businessman in 2A mutters, "Good grief." Patricia turns her phone to her face. "For those just joining, this woman is using a fake pass. She claims seat 1A. Please look at her and tell me if she looks like the kind of person who pays for first class." The comments explode on her livestream. She reads them proudly. "That's right, a truth-teller 65, scammers are everywhere, and yes, a patriot, mama, I'm doing the Lord's work." Patricia is so wrapped up in her own performance, she doesn't quite notice what's happening behind her. Captain Rodriguez appears at the front of the cabin. He's older, composed, silver at the temples. a man who has seen every kind of trouble in the sky, but even he looks irritated. "What's going on here?" he asks Maria quietly. Before Maria can answer, Patricia lunges forward like she's reporting breaking news. "Captain, thank God! I'm Patricia Henderson from Air Support Services. We probably work together. I've uncovered a major security breach. This woman is impersonating a first-class passenger and using forged documents." She thrusts the boarding pass toward him like a cop slamming evidence onto a table. The captain studies the ticket. Then he looks at Diana, and something flickers in his eyes. Recognition. Respect. Authority. The cabin holds its breath. Diana gives the captain the slightest nod. "It's time." Captain Rodriguez clears his throat. "It's his Miss Washington," he says, addressing her with full professional weight. "On behalf of Skyward Airlines, I want to sincerely apologize for the disrespect you've endured." The cabin falls dead silent. Maria's eyes widen. James freezes. Patricia squints, confused. "Miss who?" the captain continues. "Passengers, please be aware that this woman," he gestures to Diana, "is Diana Washington, the founder and CEO of Skyward Airlines." Patricia's phone slips from her hand. Her live stream keeps running. Her face drains of every ounce of color. Because trust me, Patricia hadn't even tasted the real consequences yet. Her nightmare was only warming up. Patricia's jaw hits the floor so hard it might as well crack the cabin carpet. Her live stream is still running, hundreds of viewers watching in real time as the truth slams her like a brick to the face. The comment section goes berserk. "That's the CEO? Girl, you just ruined your life. Turn off the camera, sweetie. It's over." But Patricia just stands there, frozen, like someone unplugged her brain. "CEO?" she stammers. "No, no way, she's lying. You're all lying." Maria steps closer, tablet in hand. "Ma'am, this is Skyward Airlines' official crew manifest. Miss Washington is flying incognito to evaluate service." She turns the screen so Patricia, and her entire livestream, can see Diana's full biography, headshot, and title. Patricia's mouth opens, then closes, then opens again. She looks like a malfunctioning robot. Diana finally speaks, and her voice is calm, steady, powerful. "Miss Henderson, you said people like me don't belong in first class." She pauses, letting the weight of the words settle. "You demanded I be removed from an aircraft I own." The businessman in 2A lets out a low whistle. A lady across the aisle whispers, "Well, bless her heart." Patricia grabs the seat back to steady herself. I didn't know," she pleads. "I swear I didn't know. I thought that I was a scammer." Diana finishes for her, raising an eyebrow. "That I shouldn't sit next to you, that my ticket wasn't real." Patricia gulps so hard the whole cabin hears it. It was a misunderstanding," she sputters. "I was just trying to harass the CEO of the airline," Maria says dryly. "On camera." Heads nod around the cabin. Someone chuckles. Patricia's own phone, still recording, is now flooded with clown emojis and comments begging her to log off before she embarrasses herself further. Too late. Way too late. Captain Rodriguez turns to her firmly. "Miss Henderson, your conduct violates multiple federal aviation rules. Your remarks, your recorded accusations, and your harassment of another passenger, especially this passenger, are grounds for removal from the aircraft." Patricia's legs wobble. "Please, no, I need to get to Atlanta. My job, my company." Diana lifts a hand gently. "Your company," she says. "You mean Air Support Services?" Her tone is calm but razor-sharp. "That company provides ground services to Skyward Airlines." Patricia's face goes ghost-white. She realizes exactly what Diana means, exactly what she just destroyed, because losing a seat was nothing compared to the career Patricia was about to lose forever. Patricia collapses into the nearest seat, not her seat, just any seat, like someone pulled the plug out of her spine. Her face is white as printer paper. My job, she whispers, staring into nothing. But her phone, still streaming live, has a mind of its own. Comments flood in. "Girl, you done. Delete your career. Just apologize and hope the Lord takes the wheel." James retrieves the phone carefully and ends the live stream. The damage is already viral. Captain Rodriguez radios the ground crew. Passenger misconduct. Law enforcement requested at arrival. Patricia whimpers. Actually whimpers. This can't be happening. Diana doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't gloat. She simply tells the truth with quiet, devastating precision. Ms. Henderson, your behavior tonight reflects exactly what many of our passengers experience. Unprovoked suspicion, public humiliation, assumptions based entirely on appearance. Patricia looks ready to slide under the seat. Diana continues, not angry, but firm. You said I didn't look like someone who belongs in first class, but you never once questioned your own behavior. Maria nods vigorously. That's what bias looks like, ma'am. Loud, confident, and wrong. A few passengers clap softly. Patricia flinches. Please, Miss Washington, she begs. I'll apologize publicly. I'll take down the video. I'll do anything. Diana meets her eyes with calm authority. This isn't about an apology. It's about accountability. Patricia starts crying, loud, messy, hiccuping sobs. Not because she feels guilty, but because she finally understands the consequences. Am I fired? She whispers. Diana tilts her head. I don't control your company, Miss Henderson, but you did publicly harass their primary client and live-streamed it. The businessman in 2A mutters, Well, she walked into that one. Patricia covers her face. No. I've been with them for 20 years. Captain Rodriguez gently motions for her to stand. Ma'am, we're not removing you mid-air, but the moment we land, security will escort you for questioning. Patricia nods weakly. I understand. Diana turns to the rest of the cabin. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the disruption. Please let our crew know if you need anything. Your comfort is our priority. The passengers applaud, grateful, relieved, impressed. Diana finally takes her rightful place in seat 1A. Patricia watches her sit, the exact moment she realizes she attacked the wrong woman. But Patricia had no idea that the real nightmare wouldn't happen on the plane. It would start the moment those wheels hit the ground. The plane lands with a smooth thud, but for Patricia, it feels like the world just crashed into her chest. Her eyes are red, her hands shaking, her once polished confidence crumbled like stale cornbread. As the aircraft taxis toward the gate, she spots blue uniforms gathering outside the window. Airport police, TSA agents, and Skyward corporate security. The whole welcoming committee. Her breath hitches. Oh, God. They're here for me, she whispers. Diana sits calmly in seat 1A, reviewing her notes for the upcoming merger meeting. Not a single flicker of satisfaction crosses her face. If anything, she looks disappointed, like a teacher watching a student fail a test they should have aced. The captain's voice comes over the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated. Law enforcement will board the aircraft momentarily. A ripple of murmurs sweeps through first class. Patricia looks around, desperate for help, for someone to defend her. But the passengers she insulted with her arrogance are now leaning away, avoiding eye contact. No one is stepping up to save her. The door opens. 2 TSA officers, a police sergeant and a Skyward compliance manager step inside. Their presence is enough to make even the bravest man sit up straighter. The sergeant speaks first. Patricia Henderson? She nods, barely. Her voice is a tremor. Yes, I'm Patricia. Please stand, he says calmly. We need to speak with you regarding your recorded statements and disruptive conduct. Recorded statements. Patricia sways. My live stream. You saw... Oh, we saw it, the Skyward manager says. In fact, the entire industry has seen it. Patricia clutches her handbag like it's her last lifeline. It was just a misunderstanding. No, ma'am, the sergeant corrects her. It was harassment, public defamation, and a false aviation security allegation. That falls under federal jurisdiction. A soft gasp spreads through the rows. Patricia breaks completely. Miss Washington, please, tell them I didn't mean to. Diana stands, smooth and composed. Miss Henderson, she says gently, I don't want you arrested. But I will ensure this incident is handled properly, Patricia sobs. Please, I'll lose everything. Diana responds with quiet gravity. You were willing to ruin my dignity, based on nothing but an assumption. Actions have consequences. The officers escort Patricia up the aisle, her shoulders shaking, her reputation in tatters. Passengers watch as she disappears down the jet bridge, swallowed by the flashing lights waiting outside. But Patricia's nightmare was only beginning, because while the police handled the legal side, the aviation world was about to shut its doors on her forever. While security leads Patricia toward the terminal office, Diana walks off the aircraft with the calm grace of someone who's weathered storms far worse. She shakes hands with a few passengers, offers apologies, even poses for a couple quick photos when people ask politely. But meanwhile, Patricia is ushered into a small, sterile interview room. Bright fluorescent lights. White walls. No escape. She sits trembling at the metal table as the Skyward compliance manager opens a folder thick with printed screenshots. Miss Henderson, he begins, we've compiled documentation from your live stream. He lays them out one by one. Her claiming Diana forged a ticket. Her calling her a criminal. Her shouting racist slurs. Her accusing the airline of corruption. Her threatening to call federal authorities. Each screenshot is a nail in the coffin. Patricia covers her face. I wasn't thinking, I was upset, I didn't know. That's the problem, he replies calmly. You didn't know, but you spoke with absolute confidence anyway. The door opens again. A woman in a navy blazer enters. Air Support Services HR Director, Patricia's employer. Her face is ice. Patricia, she says flatly, we need to talk. Patricia bolts to her feet. Karen, thank God, please help me, this is all blown out of... But Karen holds up a hand. No, don't. I've seen the video, the whole world has. Patricia's voice cracks. I've worked there 20 years. And in one flight, Karen replies. You jeopardized our relationship with our biggest client. You insulted them publicly. On camera. Patricia sinks into her chair, tears sliding down her cheeks. We are terminating your employment effective immediately, Karen says. And as standard procedure, your access badge has already been disabled. Patricia gasps like she's been slapped. No, please! My family, my retirement, Karen, please! But HR doesn't bargain with racism caught in HD. It's out of my hands, Karen says softly. Your actions did this, not the airline, not Diana. Then she adds the final blow. And, you should know, the aviation industry shares misconduct records. Once this goes through, you'll be flagged. Permanently. No airline or ground service company will hire you again. Patricia collapses into her palms, sobbing like a child, her career gone, in one flight. Meanwhile, back in the terminal, Diana speaks briefly with security, signs a statement, and politely declines media attention. She has a merger to prepare for, and a company to protect. But Patricia... She steps out of the interview room to find reporters already waiting, cameras flashing like lightning. Her humiliation has only just begun. Because by the next morning, Patricia wouldn't just be unemployed. She'd be the most hated woman on the internet. By sunrise, Patricia Henderson's world is unrecognizable. Her phone is exploding. Calls, texts, emails, notifications, firing non-stop like a slot machine stuck on chaos. She sits on her living room couch wrapped in a blanket, hair a mess, eyes swollen from crying. She opens social media. Big mistake. Her face, red, furious, screaming, is everywhere. Clips from her live stream are stitched into reaction videos, commentary breakdowns, memes, and news segments. The hashtags are brutal. Seat Snatcher, Karen v CEO, Ghetto Trashgate, Skyward Scandal. A YouTuber with 2 million subscribers posts a video titled, White Woman Demands CEO's Seat, Instant Karma. Another influencer reacts dramatically. Girl, she picked the wrong black woman today. Patricia slams the laptop shut and buries her face in her hands. Her phone rings again. It's her sister. She answers with a shaky voice. Pat, please tell me this isn't really you, her sister whispers. Mom saw the video. She's devastated. Patricia nearly vomits from the shame. Before she can respond, another call buzzes through, this time from her husband's law firm. She hesitates, then answers. Mrs. Henderson, the voice says coldly, your husband's clients have concerns about being associated with your behavior. It's creating complications. Complications. That's lawyer speak for nuclear disaster. Her husband storms into the living room minutes later, face flushed and eyes blazing. Do you realize what you've done? He snaps. My firm is considering disciplinary action because of you. Judges, partners, everyone saw that video. Patricia sobs. I didn't know she was the CEO. That's the whole point, he shouts. You humiliated a black woman because she did not look like she belonged next to you. She tries to reach for him, but he steps back. I can't be dragged down with you, he says quietly. This is catastrophic. Before she can react, the doorbell rings. Media. News vans crowd her street, neighbors peek out from windows, cameras flash violently as reporters shout, Patricia, do you have anything to say? Did you knowingly discriminate? Do you feel remorse? Are you aware Skyward may sue you? She slams the door shut, hands shaking. Her life has collapsed in less than 24 hours, and the aviation world hasn't even spoken yet. Because behind the scenes, 25 airline CEOs were about to make a decision that would end Patricia's entire career, not for a week, not for a month, but forever. While Patricia hides inside her home like it's a fallout shelter, the aviation industry gathers in Chicago for the monthly Aviation Leaders Alliance meeting. 25 CEOs, executives from ground service providers, maintenance directors, industry attorneys, every major player is present, and Diana Washington sits at the head of the conference table, calm, composed, and carrying the kind of influence that shifts entire industries. The room watches in silence as she plays Patricia's livestream on the giant screen. The insults, the racist language, the false accusations, the harassment, the threats, the arrogance. It hits differently when viewed in full. When the video ends, the room stays quiet for a long moment. Finally, American Airlines' CEO speaks. This behavior is unacceptable, completely unacceptable. United's CEO chimes in. We have zero tolerance for discriminatory conduct. If she worked for any of us, she'd be fired immediately. Delta's CEO leans forward. The woman verbally assaulted a black CEO on camera and publicly humiliated a partner airline. That's grounds for industry-wide action. The head of Gate Gourmet adds, we all use air support services. If their employees behave like this, it reflects on all of us. Then the president of the Ground Services Coalition stands. Diana, you shouldn't have to deal with this. None of your staff or passengers should either. Someone suggests an unprecedented move. Blacklist her. Not from one company, not from a handful, from the entire aviation sector. A silence, then nods. Slowly at first, then unanimously. A formal agreement is signed. Swift, stern, coordinated. Patricia Henderson is permanently disqualified from employment in aviation or aviation-adjacent fields due to documented discriminatory behavior and violations of passenger safety standards. One executive adds, this should be added to the Henderson Protocol. A few heads turn. The what? Someone asks. A new standard, named after the woman who made it necessary. When an aviation worker commits severe discrimination on duty, every company is alerted. Every file flagged, every opportunity closed. Diana exhales softly. Not triumph, not vengeance, just clarity. Because this isn't a T about punishing Patricia, it's about protecting passengers from ever facing the humiliation Diana endured. Within hours, Patricia receives the emails, letting her know American Airlines won't hire her, United won't, Delta won't, Southwest won't, JetBlue won't. Not the service companies, not the airports, not the contractors, not the training programs. Her 20-year career disappears in a day. But Patricia's fall wasn't done, because next came the police investigation, the lawsuit, and the consequences she never imagined in her worst nightmares. Patricia thought the worst had already happened. She was wrong. 2 days after the video exploded, she receives an official letter taped to her front door. The envelope reads, United States Department of Homeland Security, TSA Investigations Division. Her knees buckle. Inside is a summons. The letter outlines every violation she committed on that aircraft. False accusation of aviation fraud, disruption of flight operations, harassing a passenger, interfering with crew duties, potential security threat, misreporting. Each line is colder than the last. Her phone rings again, this time from an unknown number. "Mrs. Henderson?" a firm voice asks. "This is Agent Collins with TSA. We need you to appear for questioning regarding your security-related accusations made during your live stream." Patricia grips the phone until her knuckles turn white. I didn't mean for it to go that far." "Ma'am," he interrupts, "you publicly claimed a passenger used forged documents and posed a threat. Those are federal-level statements. Intent does not erase impact." Her stomach drops. Then things get worse, far worse. An email pops up from Skyward Airline's legal department. Patricia stares at the screen, unable to breathe. "Notice of pending civil litigation, Skyward Airlines versus Patricia Henderson." She scrolls. The claims listed make her vision blur. Defamation, public harassment, intentional infliction of emotional distress, business harm due to false allegations and under damages. Seeking $750,000 in compensation. She nearly faints. Her husband storms into the room moments later, holding his own letter, this one from his law firm's ethics committee. "They're reviewing my standing," he says, his voice trembling. "Your behavior reflects on my practice. We could lose clients because of you." Patricia sobs uncontrollably. "I didn't mean any of this. I was just upset about a seat." He shakes his head. "It wasn't the seat, Pat. It was the hate behind it." That sentence shatters her. Meanwhile, across town, Diana meets with her legal and PR teams. She's calm, composed, methodical. She doesn't celebrate Patricia's downfall. She barely speaks about her at all. Her focus is the bigger picture. "We need clearer protections for passengers facing discrimination," she says. "This incident can start something meaningful." Her staff nods. Diana has already turned the humiliation into a mission. But Patricia, she hasn't even reached rock bottom yet, because soon a judge would make a decision that would change Patricia's life forever. The kind of ruling that echoes for years. 6 months later, Patricia sits in a federal courtroom, hair flat, face tired, clothes hanging off her like she aged a decade. Camera crews swarm outside. Reporters whisper. Spectators fill the benches. This hearing is big, historic even. Diana Washington enters quietly with her legal team, no smirking, no gloating. She simply takes her seat with the poise of someone who has nothing to prove. When the judge enters, Patricia rises shakily. Judge Martinez reviews the files, her live stream transcript, the viral footage, the industry statements, the DHS report. Each piece plays like another nail being hammered into Patricia's old life. "Mrs. Henderson," the judge says, peering at her over thin glasses, "your actions represent one of the most clear-cut examples of discriminatory harassment this court has seen." Patricia sobs into her hands. "I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry." "Sorry," the judge replies, "does not undo the harm. You attempted to use federal security laws as weapons of discrimination. That is serious." Patricia trembles violently. Judge Martinez continues. "You publicly humiliated an innocent passenger, disrupted a commercial flight, endangered crew operations, and falsely accused an executive of security violations." Patricia's lawyer tries to interject, but the judge raises a hand. "Enough. The evidence speaks louder than any argument." The courtroom goes silent. Finally, the judge delivers the ruling. "The court sentences you to 6 months in federal minimum security detention, followed by 2 years of supervised probation." 6 months. Patricia gasps so loudly the room echoes. 6 months, 6 entire months. Her knees almost buckle. But Judge Martinez isn't finished. "Additionally, you are ordered to complete 500 hours of community service with diversity and inclusion organizations and pay a $50,000 fine." Patricia can barely breathe. "And due to the civil settlement with Skyward Airlines," the judge continues, "you must make payment arrangements with their legal team." Another blow. A massive one. Her lawyer squeezes her arm, whispering that it could have been worse. To Patricia, it feels like the end of everything. As officers escort her toward the side door, she looks back just once. Diana meets her eyes. There is no triumph there, no revenge, just sadness. And a quiet strength Patricia will never be able to understand. Outside, reporters shout questions. Patricia, any comment? Do you regret it? Do you admit this was racist? She covers her face and disappears into the police hallway. Her fall is complete. Meanwhile, Diana steps outside with her team. Another reporter asks her, Miss Washington, what do you want people to learn from this? Diana pauses. Simple, she says gently. Treat people with dignity, because the moment you think someone doesn't belong, you might just be looking at the person who built everything around you. But Diana wasn't done. What she did next would change the aviation industry forever, turning a moment of hate into a movement of justice. Diana didn't let the courtroom victory become the end of the story. For her, it was only the beginning. The very next week, she launched a groundbreaking initiative called the Dignity in Travel Foundation, a program dedicated to protecting passengers from discrimination in airports, airplanes, and transportation industries worldwide. She didn't name it after herself. She didn't boast about her role, but everyone knew who inspired it. The foundation hired legal teams to represent travelers who were humiliated or profiled. It funded nationwide bias training programs. It created hotlines for passengers experiencing discrimination mid-flight. And most importantly, it pushed Congress to strengthen traveler protection laws. Diana became the face of a new movement. Her testimony before the House Transportation Committee made national headlines. She spoke with poise, clarity, and grace, explaining how discrimination poisons the travel experience and how employees must be trained to stop it. Millions watched her speech, and millions agreed with her. Airlines began partnering with her foundation. Airports requested her training programs. Employees reported renewed workplace standards. The industry transformed in ways no one had seen before. Meanwhile, Patricia completed her 6-month sentence quietly. She swept floors at the community center during her service hours, keeping her head down as families whispered, "Isn't that the woman from that video?" Yep, the seat lady. Day after day, she faced the consequences she created herself. Her old house, sold to pay legal fees. Her marriage, ended. Her reputation, gone. Her career, permanently banned in aviation. But life has a way of making things full circle. One afternoon, she arrives for her mandatory service shift at a Detroit community center and finds a mural on the wall of a young Diana Washington as a child, sitting with a notebook and dreams in her eyes. Patricia stops, staring at it for a long time. She reaches out and touches the edge of the painting. Her voice cracks. "I should have treated you better," she whispers to the empty room. But apologies whispered in empty rooms never reach the people they were meant for. And Diana, she never spoke Patricia's name publicly again. She didn't need to. Sometimes silence is louder than any microphone. Because the 1-year anniversary of the incident brought a moment so powerful, so full circle, it would define Diana's legacy forever. Exactly 1 year after the incident, Diana stands inside a brand new Skyward aircraft, the latest addition to her expanding fleet. Sunlight pours through the windows, casting warm gold across the cabin. In front of her sits a group of 30 aviation students from historically black colleges and universities, handpicked for a new scholarship program she personally funded. Their eyes are bright, hopeful, dreaming big. Diana smiles at them. "This aircraft," she begins, "is where something painful happened last year, but today I want this cabin to stand for something better." The students lean in. "A year ago," she continues, "a woman judged me by my appearance before she ever judged my character. And instead of letting that moment silence me, it pushed me to build something bigger, something that protects others." She gestures around the cabin. "This plane is part of that legacy, built not from hurt, but from purpose." One student raises her hand. "Miss Washington, what would you say to someone who's afraid to speak up when they see discrimination?" Diana smiles softly. "I'd tell them this. Doing nothing changes nothing. Doing something changes someone. And sometimes, that someone is you." The cabin falls silent, moved, inspired. Diana ends her talk with a message that echoes like gospel. Your voice matters, your courage matters, and your dignity matters. Don't ever let anyone tell you where you do or don't belong. You define that, not them. The students rise, giving her a standing ovation. Outside, cameras roll, not for drama, not for scandal, but for history. The incident that tried to break Diana became the match that lit an entire movement. Her airline grew stronger. Her foundation reshaped the industry. Her story inspired millions. And Patricia Henderson? She became a cautionary tale, proof that hate has consequences, but dignity has power. If Diana's story moved you, even a little, here's what you can do right now. Subscribe if you believe every person deserves dignity and respect, no matter what they look like. Share this story with someone who needs a reminder that arrogance collapses and character never does. Comment below. Have you ever judged someone too quickly, or seen someone treated unfairly? What would you do differently next time? Your voice matters more than you think, and your courage might change someone's life, because in the end, it wasn't the seat that defined anyone. It was the character they carried into it. If you thought this story was wild, wait till you hear what happened when a flight attendant slapped a black CEO on her own private jet. 10 minutes later, her response left the entire crew jobless. Trust me, you don't want to miss this one.